live, or at least the YouTube thing says I'm live. And I even seem to have my audio working because I was recording other videos that I didn't finish that I jumped right into this. So I've just been busy recording today, which is good because I have lots of fun videos coming out. Welcome to Vlog Thursday. I should look up these numbers. 478, I think. Am I got that right? 478. Privacy, DNS, and self-hosting, Homelab. I didn't have a specific topic for today. It was more of a general riff on stuff topic. I bring up privacy because I think there's a good crossover. There's a good Reddit post I seen in, I think it was in self-hosted, talking about some of the privacy advantages of self-hosting things. I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but I figured I would turn this into a video. It's something that I'm working on. I'll hopefully have it done tomorrow. Well, I already lost the screen. There it is, the one I'm looking for. I actually have a whole list of apps that I run. I'm willing to talk about them here. I'm going to get much more concise, I should say. I can't say specific because this is specific. These are the apps I run. I'm going to talk about the video. In the video, I'll talk about the apps I run. But some of these apps, maybe ones are you have used, haven't used, or whatever. So this whole list, this video should be published by tomorrow. Worst case, Saturday, I'll have it done. Kind of depends. Sometimes I get busy doing stuff. But these are the privacy first self-hosted apps. It kind of goes hand in hand that things are privacy first if they're self-hosted. Mostly, there's going to be exceptions to that. But I figured why not? It's a talking point. Kind of go on and Q&A with some of the people here, because there's certainly apps that are going to be on this list that people love, people hate, and wish I would have chose the app that they prefer. But that's part of the fun of debating about what should or shouldn't be self-hosted and which choices you make around that. I see someone post and got my attention. Hello from Northern Michigan. Snow's almost gone. Time for the motorcycles. Yes, I am happy that the warmer weather is on its way here in Michigan. Let's see. You forgot the little red node thing. It's a mesh core or Meshtastic node. Ooh, yeah. People picked up on that. I found a new hobby. So I don't know about a new hobby. It's been something I wanted to play with for a little while, is playing with some of the off-grid non-infrastructure communication. I know there'll be a debate about this because Team Mesh Core or Team Meshtastic it's become like a schism in a Linux distro level argument. And I will say, anytime you get nerds who are passionate about a hobby, a thing they love, or a career, they will argue about it. In the realm of motorcycles, it can be people who like one brand over another. In terms of oil is like one of those debates in the motorcycle world of which oil do you use, and whichever one isn't mine is wrong, and they will argue about it. I love that the forums are just a different argument over the same topic. Like this application is the best one and every other one you choose is wrong. It's just fun. It is how nerds work, I think. So how do you tackle zero knowledge offsite backup solutions? Encrypting data locally and send to Backblaze recommended. Yes. Essentially, you have to encrypt before send. That's how you deal with zero knowledge offsite backup. It's not any more complicated than that. People tend to overthink it. Please make sure, as I was able to save, I hope, I at least got them where to look for it. Someone had backed up a lot of stuff and they set passwords. Good news is it looks like they did save all their passwords when they set it up, because they set all the passwords but didn't think about it in their TrueNAS. And I'll just use that as an example. You don't have to use TrueNAS to Backblaze, but if you do, and you want the zero trust, you encrypt before you send, if you don't back up that password, you do not have access to that data anymore. And the person was able to, I believe, find the data they were looking for, which was the password. So they had the bucket full of encrypted data, but that's what they had, was a bucket full of encrypted data. And that is a challenge. So be very careful in documenting when you set these things up. That is probably the biggest takeaway, because I've unfortunately had a lot of people reach out to me that didn't save the password they used to encrypt it. So like, hey, I can, always generate a new bucket key and add someone back in so they can get access to it, but the data's encrypted. I'm like, yeah, without that password, I don't got no way to help you. So definitely something to consider. All the way from New Zealand. Funny enough, busy debating myself about Debian alone with Docker and Proxbox VM, watching your other video on the screen. Love your content. Thank you very much. Anyone know why US X15G suddenly showing TX fault on half the SPC ports. As far as you know, no packet loss. Odd, but there was a bug found relatively recently. I believe it's been updated or resolved where you would have false positives on a couple models. I had one of those issues that I ran into. My my switches were all working fine, but they showed that I had a TX error on several ports for no particular reason, and I don't know why. I haven't gone back in to look recently, but I believe after an update, the problem went away, and there was some posts about it I seen, but yeah, if it's working, I'll assume it's an error. Maybe open a ticket or make sure you're on the latest version to sort that out. Depends on the size of the mesh. Local mesh hit limit of Meshtastic and switching to mesh core fixed it and expand even more. Currently spans parts of Australia, Slovakia, Hungarian, and Poland. Yeah, I don't know how big mesh core here is in Detroit because there's not, unfortunately, a lot of Meshtastic people here. I'm only seeing just a couple of nodes. And maybe I'll see more nodes if I switch to mesh core. It's on my to-do list to kind of flip-flop between them and see how it works. I'm learning more about it. A couple of my friends are putting up base stations, and I may put up a base station as well, little solar-powered ones, and they may go on a few other spots in between if we can build our own network, and maybe we switch it later to mesh core. I don't know. This is all just fun to me. So definitely fun stuff to play with. Bearded IT Dad, good afternoon. How are you doing today? The self-hosted lists, though. I have been rebuilding all my locally hosted. Actually, I'll drag this over with Open Web UI. This is actually running on my laptop. Let me. Can I size this? Yeah, okay, I can size it. I don't need it that big. But yeah, I'm actually pretty impressed with how well this runs on the framework. So I just decided to rebuild it all, do a very customized setup of Open Web UI running on my framework laptop. I figured my laptop's just kind of sitting there, not doing nothing. Why not spin up Docker on it while it's sitting idle and let me query it as opposed to my older graphics card that is sad and old? This has a nice 5070 in it, and it actually works relatively well. We'll do this essentially in real time here. There we go. You're watching how fast a framework laptop with a 5070 can run Llama 3.1 8B. Not unreasonable. Now, if we switch to another model and we use DeepSeek, it's a little slower. So let's actually do a new chat. What should we ask DeepSeek? Tell me a fun fact about the Roman Empire. Yeah, we'll do the explain options trading. I'm on my face disappeared. There we go. We'll do explain options trading. It's going to load the model, which does take a second because we got to flip from one model to the other. But yep, now the model's loaded. Now it goes into thinking mode to give me a cool options trading. I like the self-hosted AI stuff. And this is, well, you can see it going behind here. It's still reasonably fast for the DeepSeek R1 8B model. You can't run the biggest models in there, but I hear the laptop now. It's on my desk, so DeepSeek definitely will push the laptop a lot harder, but, you know, it's not too bad. You'll just hear it kind of cranking up a little bit in the background. Yeah, get 2 nodes, 1 for each. They're not expensive, so I agree with you on that. Do you need to directly wire your U5G Max Outdoor to a WAN port of the Dream Machine? Nope. You do not. It works right over the switch. I covered that in my video. You just plug it into a LAN port with PoE and it works. There's nothing special you have to do. Greetings from Louisiana, USA. If you're building a publicly accessible self-hosted website, what tools would you use to protect your own IP, network, reverse proxy, or something else? Yeah, you're going to want a reverse proxy in front of it. I guess if you're making a public website, Cloudflare is kind of the go-to for a lot of that because of their protections. If you're trying to avoid even using Cloudflare, there are reverse proxies out there. You could also just load if you look at launchsystems.com, it's not even sitting behind a proxy. I just have it on a public IP address and publicly hosted at Linode. Same with my forums. It's not on a reverse proxy either. There's pros and cons to doing it. I'm fine with letting, I think I'm using Apache for launch systems with WordPress. As far as I'm using WordFence, but you could also add in there, I can't remember the name of the tool now. CrowdSec is another tool you can put in front of it to help with potential issues. So just those are a couple suggestions. Any way to get better HA speeds when using Delta backup to TrueNAS XCPG? See if snapshots are killing performance for you. How many snapshot? Well, are you keeping and holding lots of snapshots? I guess that would be the question. You shouldn't be. I actually find the snapshots to be really fast, but context matters. I don't know exactly what's slow about them. Yep, I have the Quen model in here as well. So we can switch over to Quen if we wanted to query that one. Delete. I don't need this garbage. Quen. What is PF Sense? It'll take a second to load the model, but there we go. We'll have Quen answer that question. I'll let it do it in the background here. I also have Dolphin on here, Dolphin Mistral as well. PF Sense is an open source firewall router operating system built on top of FreeBSD. Great. It works. Who cares how fast it is as long as you can run the model? Yeah, right up until you're asking a lot of questions for problem solving, and then you run out of patience very quickly. Haven't gotten to self-hosted stuff, AI stuff, mainly as my computer has a decent GPU. Yeah. Homelab sits on my desktop, lets all the VMs use it. You know, and I think that's a good trade-off. If you have a gaming system and you're the only user, you're probably not playing games the same times you need to use the AI, so you can flip-flop between them. That's essentially what I'm using my laptop for, is it can switch between doing what it's doing. I have it set up so I turn off Docker completely. I just have Homelab in Docker along with OpenWebUI in Docker. Then I have it externally set up to go to my reverse proxy, which is Nginx Proxy Manager. And it allows me to use it here on my desktop or other computers I have. But then when I want to use it for something else, seeing as I'm the only user, no one else queries my AI system, I just disable Docker, disable everything related to it. So the computer's not wasting resources doing that, and I can do what I want with it. Pangolin is a great option for reverse proxy. It gives you ACLs, geo-blocking even. Yeah, and I believe you can plug in CrowdSec into Pangolin as well. If using pfSense, create a DMZ and use HA proxy. That's an option as well. Yeah, it kind of needs context. Like, I don't bother self-hosting like my website or my forums here. It's just not that expensive to have it in Linode because on occasion the power goes out here, or more specifically, the internet goes out here. I had a couple day up and down outage the other day that, I don't know, it took them 2 days to solve it. I don't really want my forums or my website offline for 2 days. Not that it couldn't happen at one of the hosting providers, but over all the years, and now I've been hosting my forums for 7 years, I would measure downtime in hours over 7 years. I don't think I've ever had, cross my fingers, at least a multi-day outage with my forums or my website. So can you ask the model pfSense or OpenSense? Oh, there we go. Let's give it a query here. Which is better, pfSense or OPN? Yeah, OPN Sense. Choosing between pfSense and OpenNMS? Well, we just had a model flaw. No. The OPN sense router versus. There we go. Certainly, more TLDL cryptography and OpenSense, pfSense, focusing on the router capabilities. Cool. There we go. Now it's better. Both pfSense and OpenSense are excellent choices for network security and routing. Choice between it depends on whether or not you prioritize advanced security features or advanced routing capabilities. If security is your top priority, OpenSense might be a better choice. Interesting. If advanced routing is more important, pfSense is the way to go. I don't know why I would say that. I've pointed out the fact that OPNsense has sometimes been behind on security updates compared to pfSense, but maybe they're talking about the fact that OpenSense has more plugins for it. I started saying OpenSense, but I know it's OpenSense. Anyways, we can let these things argue away all they want. Yeah, LM Studio with the M4 Mini, the Mac stuff runs quite well. Matter of fact, if I were to want to build a larger system, I think right now, if you wanted to run very large models, it is less expensive to run them on a Mac than it would be to buy the equivalent NVIDIA cards. I was looking at the numbers and it kind of surprised me. Like Mac might be a slightly slower in response, but still able to load those bigger models. And it might be the price was reasonable compared to when I started looking up what it would cost to do it in NVIDIA cards. But yeah, there's a lot of debate about that. Is TrueNAS in a VM with direct access to its drives acceptable? Alternatively, I'm thinking of a Zima board for running TrueNAS for a lab NAS. I have a video about virtualizing TrueNAS, and yeah, as long as you're passing through the controller so it can talk directly to the drives, you should be good. You generally don't have too many problems if you do it like that. You want to start doing some AI stuff with my gaming machine too? Be interested to compare it with the M4 Mini. Awesome. With pfSense, would you use HA proxy or would you use Nginx proxy? HA proxy is solid. I don't know of any issues with it. So I like the fact that HA proxy has integration with Let's Encrypt via the Acme. So you can automate all of that as a function. But if you're building websites, it's not hard to integrate Let's Encrypt with Nginx or Apache on the website. And because there's not, I'm running raw, so to speak, by loading a virtual machine that's in Linode with a public IP address, it's not really a issue. But I wouldn't, if I was running it where I hosted myself, I wouldn't have any issues running HA proxy either. I think that's good. The model misspelled OpenSense in the question is at fault. Yeah, but pfSense, let's see. Watching Tom's video on XCP&G and forgot when the stream started. Yep. You're tempted by the Mac Neo, not a power user, but would be fine for SSH unit servers and other stuff. Hard to beat for the price. Yeah, I did see people talking about it, and I would probably, if I were to buy another Apple device, would want a MacBook Air again. But I don't know. I've had my MacBook Air for a long time. It just works. It's my handy little admin tool. It opens up browsers, it SSHs into things, and it is easier to reply to all my emails or forum posts on than, a phone. I just don't like working from a phone. Maybe I'm just strange. Maybe it's because I'm old. I don't know. You missed my comment earlier, but VLLM plus Ray shading models, multiple GPUs, and Llama swap, including unloading llamas automatically with 2 Sparks. Yeah, you can do some really fun advanced stuff that's beyond what I'm doing for sure. Is there an Android app for the old self-hosted server? I don't think so. Traffic integrates with Let's Encrypt as well and makes DNS on challenge easy. Yeah, Traffic's another good choice for reverse proxies. Only if the Neo has an RJ45. Unfortunately, I don't know all the specs of the Neo by Mac, but I'm going to guess that you got to plug into one of the USB-Cs. I doubt it has a built-in RJ45. And even myself, I don't find, I'm not spending a lot of time in data centers, but if you were, yeah, that's probably a place you'd want one. But for the most part, I don't use the RJ45 that often anymore. I'm finding it less and less because everywhere has Wi-Fi, and I'm VPN'd in somewhere. But yeah, if you're in data center or in different type of environments, RJ45 is going to be where you want for sure. For the Homelab now, would you do HA proxy and pfSense or HA proxy Nginx? I mean, for me, I'm using Nginx Proxy Manager because I switched to UniFi instead of pfSense for my firewall. So HA proxy is not an option, but I used to use HA proxy just because running it all on the firewall just made it easy. I started my own Homelab a year ago. It works great with Proxmox, using VM to manage everything. It'd be good to have an Ubuntu type server before Proxmox. I don't understand the question exactly. It'd be good to have a Ubuntu type server before Proxmox. Oh, and Pangolin uses traffic. I did not know that. Neo has 2 USB-C ports. It's a laptop. Yeah, a lot of laptops don't have RJ45 on them anymore. It's less common. Network proxy uses traffic too. Yep. So if you ever did some analysis on Docker versus Kubernetes, basically finding a point where Kubernetes makes sense instead of Docker, seem like people jump into K8s unnecessarily. I preach it all the time. If you're running a single host, I don't understand why I want Kubernetes. And maybe no one's explained it to me properly, but it seems to add more complexity than I need. I'm not saying Kubernetes is useless, because that is clearly what people hear when I say I don't use Kubernetes. But I believe you're adding complexity where you may not need it. Kubernetes is amazing if you want to build large scalable systems. Kubernetes is also a layer of complexity of just running a few things in Docker like I do. Even with my list of services that I have back here, mostly running in Docker, it's really not that many. And most of these are just a single VM running Docker. I just don't need more than that. I don't need the extra overhead of Kubernetes. Even the folks over at TrueNAS, when they were first building Kubernetes into TrueNAS, that was where a lot of the challenges and breakage came from, and resource usage. By switching over to basically raw Docker, it became lighter and easier to manage. It's not that, like I said, there's any problem with Kubernetes. It just adds another layer that needs to be managed. So where's the breaking point? I mean, you look at the functions of Kubernetes, do you need them? I guess it's like, I always make the joking analogy, I can deliver pizzas in a freight truck. It doesn't make a lot of sense to deliver pizzas in a freight truck, but you absolutely, for the most part, can do this, provided it can go down the streets where the person wants the pizza delivered. So I guess it depends on how big of a freight truck. But it's not a practical way to deliver pizzas. And I only need a pizza, not a whole restaurant level food delivery. So you're building a handheld speed test unit based off a NanoPi due to so many laptops having no RJ40 private and field text, so he's losing dongles. Yeah, that's fair. That makes sense. Yeah, like I said, for what I do, Docker does what I need to do. And when it doesn't, I go further to building something else. This is a general thing of how I operate with my clients as well. Sometimes clients come up with their ideas, which may be very complex, and I will back them up a little bit during the consulting going, what is the goal? What are we trying to achieve? What are we trying to achieve today? What do you think you'll have to achieve next year or 2 or 3 years from now? And once I understand goals that the clients have, then I can start suggesting solutions, because sometimes they start with the more complicated solution that is not really the best fit for what they need, because any complicated solution that has a higher level of overhead also will have a higher level of support. So you want to make sure that you're matching expectations, because it may be not just less time and energy and effort to set up the less complicated solution. Also, over a 5-year life cycle, it may be the better solution because it requires less maintenance. These are just really common questions, but man, it's funny how many people just don't seem to ask them. I always joke that sometimes working in security and consulting are just asking a lot of obvious questions because everyone started throwing out the complicated answer first and no one really stopped to ask the goal. And is there an easier way to do this? Is there a solution that has less steps and less complexity to achieve the goal and still make it scalable and maintainable to the customer's needs. I say customers a lot because obviously a lot of you are just using this in the Homelab. I know a lot of you maybe do this in a business, but I do consult with a lot of companies. So that's kind of the mentality I come at and approach a lot of those. First, try Docker Swarm before Kubernetes. Yeah, Docker Swarm is pretty neat too. I believe a few people like Raid Owl did that as well. Hey, live ChatGPT, I've set up a new Proxmox server, the 4070, and sharing that to LXCs. Can I also share the GPU to VM at the same time? I want to connect to play video games. I don't think that works. I believe once you isolate it from the operating system, there's not an easy way to share it to both the kernel attached LXC and the independent VM because you're parsing it out going, you belong to the kernel here, and by extension, all the containers, the LXC containers that also share the kernel with the host OS, then you can share the video card. But when you put it in a VM, you're isolating it from the kernel usage. Therefore, I don't believe it works. There may be some way to make it work, but off the top of my head, probably not. Fishing with a battleship. Oh, that might be fun, actually, but that's a different topic. I mean, people fish with dynamite. I've seen it. It's interesting. I don't know if it's true. I don't really fish, but I've seen people on TV do it. Even if the street won't fit the truck, the driver will find a way to drive down there. That's another story. Yes, it is. Oh, yeah. I mean, Kubernetes with the API abstraction. Oh, yeah. There's cool things you can do. There's a reason large scalable companies run on Kubernetes. It's definitely awesome, but it just doesn't feel like the right solution for Homelab. Good if I agree with learning about it. If your goal is to learn Kubernetes because you would like a career, a job, or you just like learning stuff because it's fun, Kubernetes is great. What benchmark do you use to determine if a system application is ready for production use for Homelab family use, like determining if it's okay to turn off the Nest camera and use Frigate? I don't think there's really a benchmark. You just use it and see if it fits the use case that you have. I don't know how you would benchmark a camera. The benchmark is, does it work? Does it provide the data you want? Does it do the detections you want? If it does not, then the benchmark has failed. The parameters are inadequate for this, to do it. Like, it doesn't do the thing I want it to do. I don't know how to really put that as a benchmark per se. It comes down to features and does it have the features you want. Frigate's pretty neat. Kind of on that topic, I listed in here because I just wanted to answer the question about when I'm doing this video about things that I host that are like privacy first, self-hosted apps. I put UniFi Protect on there. I know it's not exactly what I would say is a normal description of self-hosted, but what it is a way to get away from the Ring cameras and all the other privacy invading crazy companies that are out there that are trying to build as just all I can say is a dystopian network of cameras that do not care about your privacy at all. So yeah, I do think UniFi is a pretty good alternative to that. Frigate's awesome if you want to put the time into it. It's not that you can't do things with Frigate. It's Frigate's freaking hard. How's that? There's a lot more setup to get the experience. It's not that you can't build it. And maybe there's some truth, except for all the vibe coding slop, if we can sort that out, that AI is making things better and can build a better NVR system, and maybe someone will do it. But mostly all the new software packages we're seeing have been more about slop than actual good. So that's another rabbit hole we'll avoid hopefully for a few more minutes. You should check out Pegaprox. Yeah, there's Pegaprox and what's the other one? There's another one that gives you a cool interface on top of. Maybe it is Pegaprox. Is that the one that gives you the better interface? It's like a better data center manager. I think my friend Rich from Two Guys Tech did a video on that. Yeah, the only way to see if a self-host solution is ready for production is to put it in production and see if it fails. Yeah, that's sometimes what you have to do. You switch. UniFi had more wireless options for locations that are hard to run Ethernet. The wireless bridge switch is amazing. I'm working on a review of that one. I've been using it for a while to put it through the paces. I really like the wireless bridge switch. It's pretty cool. This is very true. Jeff at Craft Computing is the go-to guy for SRIOV and pass-through with video cards. I know Jeff personally, so I messaged Jeff, but I've certainly watched a lot of his videos. He has a really solid list of videos on that topic. Using AI the right way with code review is the right way to use it. Are you telling me I just can't tell AI to go work some magic off the feelings and vibes I got going on today? Like, man, I just really want a magical version of Frigate that just is easy to set up. It automates everything. It does all the detections I want. It just reads the vibes out of my head and writes it. You tell me that's not possible. I keep hearing these AI people tell me it is. They allegedly, we don't even need coders anymore. We can just ask the magic genie word prediction machine to predict all the words it needs to put them in the code and make the magic happen. I like some of the LLM stuff. I dislike some of the people that run those companies. I do not think they're honest. I think they're actually annoying and dangerous in some ways, and certainly don't care about us or our privacy. Yeah, I could probably rant about that, but I won't today. Do you have any customers running 100 gig networking? Yes. I wish UniFi had available doorbell cam again, like the G4. There's no way to run cat for PoE to my front door area. Yeah, it's a construction project because I don't even, if I wanted to use a doorbell, I don't have a spot for a doorbell at all. So I have a brick front house. And it's like not like your standard bricks. It's like I don't know the proper contractor term for them. Someone told me they were dimensional bricks where they kind of make it look cool. Anyways, I don't have a way to address that because I would have to drill through the wall, drill through a lot of stuff. Yeah, and that's a common problem. So it is kind of a pain. Yeah. AI grifters. There is no doubt about that. I've seen whatever reason you deleted the message, but I know what you're talking about. Found a new current limitation with UniFi networking. You cannot mirror a LSP-bound interface. It won't see the virtual interface traffic. Huh, interesting. Not something I tried to do, so I'm trying to think. I mean, I think that seems like it should be possible, but maybe it's not. So your brick house has space for a doorbell, but only the Skybell shim fits. Yeah, that could be a problem. I don't care too much. I don't have enough people coming to my house I care about a doorbell. It's like, if I had a spot, I'd probably put it in, but it's not worth any more effort because people just don't come over my house that often. So it's not been a priority for me to get a doorbell because lack of a need of doorbell. So UniFi mirrored LECP doesn't work. It's a weird limitation along with their implementation of jumbo frames. Okay. So a couple people saying it. I've not tested that. I don't frequently, not never, but I don't frequently have requests for mirror port setups. I mean, obviously if you're doing some, probably I'm guessing like Security Onion or whatever SIM you're ingesting into is looking for a port mirror. Yeah, that's when you'd want that. And obviously that is a challenge if it doesn't support it. I mentioned DNS. This is a thing I bring up from time to time. I probably will do this year another DNS benchmark test because people seem to love those. And I want to use Steve Gibson's new DNS benchmarking tool because I think it's kind of neat. But the number of people that seem to over-index on wanting the most perfect and secure DNS for all the things, and then go on about privacy. And I'm like, I just use Quad 9 and I'm quite happy with it. I think people spend a whole lot of time creating more chaos for themselves than real protection. For example, any of these companies, no matter what they tell me, if you have to sign up for an account and give them all your data, and you want to pay another DNS company because you don't trust your ISP's DNS, you're just moving who you're giving your data to, and maybe even paying them for the privilege. Because the old adage, if you're not paying for it, you're the product. Actually, a lot of these companies figured out you can pay for it and be a product. This is something Cory Doctorow talked a lot about in his enshittification book. And I just don't trust these companies having my DNS queries, so I just send them all to Quad 9, who I cannot, even if I wanted to, sign up an account for because they don't have an account on Quad 9. You simply send the data over to the DNS queries and it gives the data back. The only thing they have is my IP address, unless I take the time to anonymize it and come out of a privacy VPN. So yeah, for some of the DNS stuff, I just use Quad 9 and I'm happy with it. I just don't spend a lot of time overthinking it. Because there's a post in my forums I didn't reply to. I'll see if anyone else does, talking about how to load Next DNS on UniFi. And I'm like, I don't like, UniFi is an appliance, not a open source, I can load whatever I want and it should be perfectly fine type of router. So I like to keep it narrower in scope to not have things that could potentially cause conflicts or problems, such as using, third-party DNS features loaded as a service on my pfSense or on my UniFi. pfSense as well. I always use the DNS system built into pfSense. I never loaded a third-party one there either. Have you found a solution for Zoros and TwinGate? Seems the two can't work together. I don't use Zoros with TwinGate, so I've never tried or have any understanding of why they don't work together. What is your go-to documentation tool or indexer? I use my forums as a public place for documentation. I don't really have an internal wiki anymore for documentation. At one point I used Wikimedia a number of years ago. Now, because it's mostly my personal notes, I use Joplin, and Joplin's my go-to note-taking app where I have whatever it is I'm working on. There's usually a bunch of Joplin notes for it, whether it's a video I'm making or something I'm working on or just notes on when I configure something. I have Joplin open to configure things that I've configured before because I'm usually copying notes out of there. I also, as I set things up, especially if I'm doing an unusual setup, like there's some specifics for how I set up Docker and the firewall rules because I wanted things locked down on my laptop. So yeah, I don't spend a lot of time messing with Docker firewall rules, so I made sure to make notes on how they were configured. That way, if I ever have to reconfigure the laptop because it gets reloaded, it'll just be some copying and pasting. Yeah, Quad 9's always been a go-to for me as well. No complaints there. Your GPT said that AI feels sentient, but all cognition is happening in our brain. Same way I imagine it. Imagine the world in a book. Good evening, Tom. Do you use AXF IVR transfer mechanism of the DNS protocol to move your local records between primary and secondary DNS servers, or use ISC bind? I do not. It's just not a need I have. So no, I do not do zone transfers. I just don't need. There was a past version of me that had done zone transfers when I needed them, when I was moving things around in public DNS. I just don't need to do that anymore. Actually, I don't have, man, it's not often anymore I do much consulting on any like public DNS infrastructure. Years ago, it was kind of the nature of, I used to be a mail server admin, which then means you're a DNS admin because everyone gets DNS wrong, especially with the mail servers. That's where people break things. So you end up learning and fixing problems with DNS because you just want the mail to route, but you inherited the problems of why the mail's not routing. It's kind of like people screaming, it's not the network, it's the app. Well, it's not the mail server, it's DNS, because it's always DNS, because DNS is clearly confusing to many sysadmins. What's a good way to create a practice lab for not exploding your current configuration? To learn new things, asking because I've been too much learning experience on my current config using Proxmox. You can run Proxmox on a relatively lower powered system. Having a separate system to load Proxmox on that you are ready to reload every time you make a terrible mistake. That's probably a good way to learn it. I have several different pieces of hardware. Some of them are not particularly fast. They're slower, older systems that are good for learning Proxmox. So that's probably the easiest way to do it, is have separate hardware, have the hardware that you rely on. Like, this is the machine I need because it runs my things that are really important that I do not want to go down every time I experiment, and then have just a separate machine. You can run Proxmox inside of Proxmox with nested virtualization, or at least I'm pretty sure you can. Nested virtualization is a way to poke and learn stuff, but it creates a less real environment because it's virtualized. So sometimes with networking, it gets a little tricky to understand, and it may be a good learning experience. It may be, hey, I wonder why this thing doesn't work that I'm actually doing right. And oh yeah, that's right, because when you have a network and a network, there's some extra parameters you might need. What's your thoughts on UniFi still running EOL versions of Suricata? From what I've seen, they're still running version 6, which EOL in 2024. Thoughts on security concerns? I don't know that. I'd have to look to see, confirm and validate what you said there. My guess is they probably have some extended security updates. Maybe I'm wrong. They just haven't gotten to the new version, to be my guess. I don't have an exact knowledge of how deprecated is it. Is there flaws in the old version? Is that really... It could be a problem. I mean, unsupported is not good. I don't know why they haven't moved to the new one, or if the version they're using is truly unsupported. I bring that up only because some of these companies buy extended support contracts for what they're using. Because there was another tool that was embedded, and I can't remember the name of it. And UniFi confirmed, because someone opened up a bug report with them on it of, hey, you're using this data tool, and they're like, we're paying for the extended support. We have a license for it, type thing. And there's no known flaws, and it's just like, hey, it's not supported. Technically, it is. The company wants people to move to a new version, but they were paying for support on the older. I think they've now removed a lot of that as well. And the same thing goes with a lot of the stuff that was using Mongo, and they're moving to, I believe it's Postgres on the back end now. So same thing. Mongo was kind of unsupported for a little while, but it's also bound to localhost, so there's not a direct path to execution. Doesn't mean they shouldn't replace it, but it's not like the immediate security concern. Quad 9's a rookie numbers. Got to pump them up. It's always DNS. Who do your customers in the past asked you to implement SysVB or HTTPS records for the locally hosted web servers? No, not something I don't set up many web servers anymore. Most of my consulting is more on the network engineering side and virtualization or storage, a lot less on the application side anymore. I don't spend a lot of time setting up like Apache or mail servers, or mail servers I gave up a long time ago because no one should be, I can't say no one. It's really limited use case for who should be self-hosting mail anymore. But I also don't spend a lot of time setting up web servers for people either. It can be the network not having the right ports unblocked and DNS simultaneously. Yeah, it can be all of it as above. How about Fortinet leaving a hard-coded admin bypass password in a firmware release? Oh yeah, I covered that in my video of Fortinet. I got to do a new video on Fortinet. There's been a lot of other Fortinet issues that have come out. So Fortinet hasn't gotten that much better over the years. They just seem to have different shenanigans. Any new toy that I'm playing with? Funny you ask. It's actually in the picture, and people... some people did pick it out. I'll just bring it over here. Hold on. But I did pick up some Meshtastic. I've been playing with this, and I've been using Meshtastics, but I know some people would prefer Mesh Core. we brought that up earlier. I'm not going to debate that today, but pretty cool. These little things are neat. This is the WIO L1 Pro. I zoomed in because it has the name of it in here if you want to search for it. It's a cool little device. I'm impressed with how well it works and how, I know it's 3D printed, but it has a good feel to it. I've been playing with it, messaging. I did message some strangers messaged me and I messaged back, so it works. Then I have more than one of them, so I've been doing some messaging with myself because I want to know how it works and what the messages look like, and it's just been a fun toy to play with. Do most of the clients come to you? Do you do marketing? Most of them these days come to me. In the past, I did marketing. I don't really do marketing anymore. I don't actually. I can say I haven't done marketing in about. It depends on how you define marketing. Let me make it a little more clear. I really haven't bought any active marketing campaigns in the last 6 years, probably. But if you count me doing public speaking as marketing, then yes, I've done marketing because I'm a public speaker at places that I was not paid to be at. Therefore, I guess that's marketing. But in terms of like, did I spend money on Google ads or any social media posts? I didn't. I haven't done that in about 6 years. Been working with the IT team at work. Most of the people are specialists, and I sometimes use stuff to learn in my Homelab to teach me about certain config options and stuff. Awesome. What is it for? Are you referring to the Meshtastic and Open Mesh, or no, Meshtastic or Mesh Core? They're just LoRa, long-range communication tools. They're a way to communicate over several miles of distance without any infrastructure. But yeah, this is marketing. I mean, YouTube is marketing, but I'm also paid for it. So I make money on ads and affiliates and sponsors from YouTube, but it's also marketing. By definition, you're not wrong. I won't, I'll agree with you on that. Do you use infrastructure as code tools like Terraform? Not really. I don't get much into Terraform. Nothing against it. I just don't really use it. Just not. At some point, maybe I will, because I could use it to define things inside of XCP&G, because it does have Terraform support. I believe Proxmox does as well. And it might be kind of fun to play with. I just don't need to spin things up at scale, and it's outside of the consulting I do a lot. So is there a good use case for Meshtastic? No, I mean, other than, well, yes, no. I can't tell you it's amazing or awesome. It's pretty basic compared to the level of advanced communication while you watch me on this 1080 stream with globally going out everywhere and fancy microphones and all the stuff that we're doing here. Meshtastic can send text, not images. It can send emojis. I can send a smiley face. It is a interesting off-grid communication system, and my ham friend's already making fun of me, going, Tom, just get your ham license because you can do so much more if you had your ham license. Yeah, I'll get my ham license eventually. But until then, I have the Meshtastic. I like the fact that I can communicate with several people over a great deal of distance, and it does have a use case for like emergencies and off-grid use. So if you had several friends and let's say all this fancy technology we have suddenly has a problem. Someone finds a flaw, like a bunch of threat actors getting into our entire telco system. And the only reason that the threat actors that are infesting our telco system don't shut it down is because it's not good for them to shut it down. It's useful for them to leave it on. They can't collect data on shut down telcos, so they leave it on. But let's say, theoretically, something occurs that causes the telco system to be non-functional or the internet to be non-functional over time, and you want an emergency backup method to communicate with people. Having something in place like Meshtastic, pretty interesting. Does it make you feel like a secret agent? Sure. How much is each Meshtastic unit? Actually, Meshtastic is really inexpensive. The kits are about $35 for the most basic. This was $60. complete, like ready to go. I mean, I put the latest firmware on it. It's the only thing I had to do, but this is a pretty complete unit with a battery that lasts several days between charges. And this was like $59. So this is not real expensive to get into. Let's talk about something. There is something that also piqued my interest about Meshtastic, and that is, I am having trouble typing on this keyboard. Northern Michigan ice storm. So we had a incredible to view ice storm here in this is several hours north of me in Michigan, but it was catastrophic. But what was crazy about this ice storm was it took out so much infrastructure. It was one of the craziest ice storms we've ever had. And I happen to have family that lives up there. I was already on a planned trip to visit them when this all occurred. I was up there and they were just getting the infrastructure back up and running, like power, cell phone towers, etc. And this really had me thinking about different types of off-grid communications and ways you can have maps offline. It's kind of a side project I started after this incident because it was just one of those, this is a wild thing to happen that you don't really expect to happen. But it's, and I think the Bearded IT Dad probably thinks a little bit about this as well, because me and him have chatted, but it's one of those things like, yeah, this is a crazy event where you just are so reliant on communication systems just working, cell phones working. Even when the internet goes out, you just pick up your cell phone and you're just used to being able to call someone and it works. Text someone, and generally the internet doesn't go out on our cell phones. We have internet everywhere you go. Matter of fact, I probably calling it a phone, not its primary function anymore. Phone is something it can do. I don't make but a couple calls a week. So yes, being able to have some of those other off-grid type communications that aren't dependent on infrastructure, and solar-powered Meshtastic nodes are relatively inexpensive. The one my friend got, the entire kit, actually I'll pull it up on Amazon. So the Meshtastic, actually we want the solar one. Solar node. This one right here, SenseCap. 129 bucks. So not a huge investment to have an outdoor node running. This is where I gotta go. I'm gonna go see it. My friend, I don't know if he's got it up yet, but I think he does. He's putting it up in, he's got an old tower at his house. He's mounting it to at his farm. So I gotta go check that out. But yeah, neat little device. So it's another hobby. What's the power draw Meshtastic? Oh, it's really low. I don't remember how many watts it is. There's some restrictions on how many watts it can be, but it's not very much at all. That's why it's able to run on a solar with a little battery in it, or even that little one I have is able to run several days on a battery. So Meshtastic is popular in Northern England, but all you see is test messages. Well, I mean, we're nerds. We're fascinated by the technology. Sometimes it's hard for us to communicate with other humans. And that's all I've gotten before too is tests. So, and Bofang is pretty cheap if you have a ham license. That's true as well. The LilyGo T-Deck is neat. I avoided that one because once I started using it on my phone, I think my phone provides a better interface. So I just didn't want the complexity or extras of a LilyGo T-Deck. I think that's neat. I almost bought that one, but ended up going with the one I had the picture of here. The WIO-L1 Pro. I like this one because it has a really long battery life. It's got like a little 4-way hat switch to cycle through menus. You can message on it, but it's super tedious. I like the fact that it connects to my phone via Bluetooth. I can just type messages on my phone back and forth and do all the settings on this device. So I'm happy with that, and that's why I didn't go with the Lily T-Deck. The battery lasts longer on this one than some of the others. At least that was my thought process. Can you suggest a good network lab topology map view creation tool? So if you're creating the maps manually, draw.io is my go-to tool for making and drawing network maps. I have another video on a tool called Network Alert X. It is a open source network discovery tool that works really well. It does a good job. It's not going to give you probably the mapping you're looking for, but it does do discovery of devices so you can at least start finding them and then build the map based on that. No, Bofang is not the same as a Meshtastic. Have I done DOT? No, I have not set any of that up either. You got the T-Deck, the Heltec V4, the T-Beam, and a few DIY nodes from a friend that he builds for less than $10. Oh yeah, if you're willing to wait on shipping, you can get these for really low amounts of money. There's some really inexpensive stuff if you order off of Alibaba or whatever. Yeah, it's all fun and games until the EMP and solar hits. Yeah. Then we're going back to rubbing sticks together, right? I don't think it'll be that bad. I'm glad there's at least... I figured the Bearded IT Dad would be into that. I didn't ask you when you were here last time visiting here in Detroit, but I suppose the Meshtastic thing, I hope it's popular over there. I will see if I can't put a few nodes up around here with friends and we can make it popular here in Detroit. I think that might be kind of cool. So yeah, I do think I see a lot more DNS over HTTPS than I do the DOT. We're great at creating the tech that to keep others from talking with each other instead of us. I don't know that it's that bad. I would probably say it's sometimes hard to communicate with other people. It's easy to set up a Meshtastic node. Like the difficulty in finding another human to interact with is harder in some ways than it is going, I'll just set up a Meshtastic node, which of course, cool, I can connect to other humans who are on Meshtastic, and I'm going to say hi, and I say hi back, and there's a long pause, and you're like, so now what do we do? I don't know. That kind of happens. I do try to spend a decent amount of time making some new friends and getting out from behind the keyboard. I like some of the social people I've met that I've become friends with who are here in the US, who are outside of the US through YouTube. Has been nice because sometimes people reach out to me and they obviously know what I'm interested in. So the conversations start going, and this is how I became friends with the Bearded IT Dad. That's how I know Dakota. So it's, starts on YouTube. It's not just talking to other humans is hard. It's a more in-depth conversation because I'm not a big sport ball fan. Some humans are really into sport ball. And then I feel bad if they want to invite me to their sport ball and I don't want to do sport ball. But I do have motorcycle friends. Now the motorcycle stuff's easy because I like off-roading. I have a group of friends that also like off-roading. They don't always like talking about tech because they're not tech nerds, but we stay on the topic of motorcycles and I'm fine with that. I have a few tech friends who are into motorcycles and that's cool too. It's just not as easy as it sounds to go find like, this is the person and let's be friends. I don't know why it's harder than it should be. I don't know. I'm overthinking it. Maybe that's what all of us do here. But by the way, some of you know, and maybe some of you are in this list here, if you head to lawrencesystems.com, you can message me on Signal. And that's a lot of times how I get to know a lot of people. So, Tom, you share all of your music and movies, of course. Yeah. I don't have any dislike. Matter of fact, I kind of wish I was into sports because sports is an easy thing to connect with people on. I just can't. I would be living a lie if I sat down and told you I loved watching insert name of sport. And I don't have anything against people who do. Matter of fact, maybe I'm a little envious of those who do because it becomes a common talking point. Hey, did you see the sport ball game last night? I did not. What happened at the sport ball game last night? Or did you see that person catch the ball? Or when they threw the ball over there? That's a conversation starter. I always look at a lot of things in life is the writing term in literary, or if you're writing a story, is the MacGuffin. It's the thing that moves the story forward. And sometimes sports may be that MacGuffin, a common reason for a group of individuals to come together and have a discussion about things and have a laugh or have a debate of who's the best sport baller. So, but here we argue about whose distro is the best and which application choices are the best. Talking to nerds is either really easy or really hard, depending on the circle that you stumbled into. Absolutely. Hey, Tom, greetings from Mexico. Awesome. Quick question. You ever had an issue with XCP-ng that when you install two hosts, one said version 8.3 and one said 8.3 and the other on the cloud? There is a forum post that answers why it says that. It's the way the upgrade went. You can fix them if they're having trouble talking to each other. I'm trying to remember, there is an answer given by the team at XCP-ng of why it does that. If you install them fresh with the ISO, it doesn't, but it's something, I believe it had something to do with when you did an upgrade as opposed to a new install. This is another really important aspect. I don't want to leave this unnoticed. Sportball is a harmless them versus us, which is nice. Yes. I'm a big fan of John Green. If you've read some of his books, one of my favorites he did recently was Everything is Tuberculosis. But he talks a lot about that, like in the Anthropocene Review, I've read that book as well, where it is kind of a fun, harmless us versus them. It's kind of inconsequential. Don't say that to a sports fan, but it is inconsequential if Team A or Team B wins or loses. It is not, generally speaking, a event. People play a lot of other things like team sports when it is much more consequential to the human outcome and what happens around us. So sports is a nice way to have an inconsequential, friendly debate and conversation without there being life or death or life-changing consequences because of it. Snooker's a good strategy game. Yeah, so snooker, chess, some of those, I know very different, but other than people play them, and anytime someone's whacking a ball around somewhere, it could be an interesting sport. There's a lot of strategy in all the sports, really. You can say boxing is brute force or MMA is, but the other side of that is it takes training, not just to hit someone a certain way or tackle them a certain way. It is much more strategic than that if you actually start learning any of it. I actually very briefly, only a few classes, and then for some reason didn't get into it. I think it's because I injured myself, not at the classes, but on a motorcycle. Learning jujitsu. I have numerous friends that do jujitsu, and it's interesting because it is so strategic. You've been in the Army for 33 years. I've had to learn how to find common interests with groups of people I've never met on a frequent basis. At some point, and any topic is fair game. Yeah, and if you're in the military, you have kind of an immediate bond when you're meeting someone. I have several military friends, and they seem, they can start having a discussion about military things, and they use a series of acronyms I'm unfamiliar with. Oh, all your kids are doing the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Yeah. Jiu-Jitsu's it's wild how precise it is. I don't know how to describe it until you've been taken down by someone who put no effort into it multiple times over and over again, where you keep thinking, I can defend against this, and learning as an untrained person, I'm going to be on that mat quite a few times. I'm going to tap out repeatedly, and I do. So yeah, there's definitely there's that. But I have wandered around the topics. I am going to wander off. I have another friend that I have on the internet, and I told him I'd call him right after my live stream, and I told him it'd be a little bit after 6 o'clock, because I can't say exactly 6, because I always go a little bit over. If I say an hour, it's always going to be a little more. So I really enjoy these live streams. I love hanging out and talking to all of you. Always makes it a lot of fun. But thank you for joining. I'll have that video done soonish that will cover all the apps I'm hosting, which I know a lot of people have. It'll be a forum post, so you don't even have to watch the video. You'll be able to just go, hey, these are the apps Tom runs. Maybe you like them, maybe you don't. Some of the ones I have in there are like CRXNG. I got into using that along with a few other things. So it's been a while, probably almost a year since I've talked about the apps I'm using. So I always like learning when people are using different apps, because it gives me insight into how they use it, why they use it, and maybe I should use it too. And I'm hoping to share my list, and maybe you'll find some insight there as well. So thank you. Yep, see you on Signal. So awesome. Thank you all for joining. It was a great time. Connect with me over at launchsystems.com, where you'll find all the socials and my Signal link there. All right, and thanks. Where's the off button?